back here at Super Day Show, listen to me. At River Republicans meeting, there's other people going to show up. I can't believe Linda's not here yet, but whatever. As you know, the election's coming up in a couple weeks, and by the way, just to introduce some people, this is Brandon Wilkinson. I think some of you people know him. He's running for Congress against Luke DeMeyer and a couple other people. I don't care what it takes. We got to get Luke DeMeyer out of there.
Yeah, really.
It's going to be hard. It's going to be hard, no doubt about it. We got to get him out of there. As you know, Luke DeMeyer is just the same as the rest of them. Have you ever heard Luke DeMeyer stand up for Trump?
Not one.
I've never.
I don't think he likes Trump.
And we know Ann Wagner doesn't. So, you know, I don't think anybody in Frederick County is a second district anymore, are they?
No, they cut you guys all out.
Yeah, it's all third and eighth, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Dave, one of the candidates, Richard Spire, in my race, he went through, endorsed the back, saying that he knows that I'm the only one who can win, and so he's throwing support on it. He's talking about it, but it is what it is.
Well,
I think I saw a text about it.
Yeah.
all right, so what we'll do, we don't do pledge of allegiance and all this stuff. I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm big into it, but, you know, we don't need to do all that stuff. Anyway, we have elections coming up, and as you can tell, for those who don't know, Take Back America rally, it's going to be at the Ferdby Lane Park. Is it? You guys know where it is, right? Anybody? Okay, you know where it is, right? I know you do. You? You do. Okay. And you can speak there if you want, Brandon.
I was going to ask if I could just speak to that.
It's a $100 charge for it.
He pays you, Brandon, for your
Yeah.
campaign.
That's like a politician. That's money in my pocket. We don't tell anybody. Anyway, try to get as many people there as we can. I think it's important. If we have, and it's not just about, the whole point of this is what I'm trying to accomplish. A lot of people don't realize it, is get a lot of people there. But try to get them to help the campaigns. You know, if we get people at the polls, because 80% of them, they go to the polls, have no idea who they're voting for, they don't know who they are. If we get people at the polls, we can win most of these positions. But if we're not at the polls, forget it. It's just how it's going to be. So I'm going to try to maneuver that into. And Jamie Allman's supposed to be there. It's questionable to some extent. Kathy, you said that, but I'm waiting for him to respond. Paul Kurtman, myself, Gary Wiegand, there's a couple more, and then some of the politicians, if you're welcome to speak if you like. But we got this Tony Persosa, he's running for county council. Graham is running. Let's see who else is here. Is running. Bob Tulloch is. Shannon Otto. Nice to see you, Shannon.
Right here, he's 111, right? 111, yeah.
Hey, what?
111, Christopher Ray.
Oh, you're Christopher Ray. Okay. Well, we're supporting you. I know that. So I guess we should do a show. No, it's but anyway, but the point is, we want to do everything we can to make sure that we get. If you look at the backside of that, it's got who Real Republican is supporting, and Brandon's one of them. Tulloch and Tony here. It's important we get everybody to get there so we can support everybody. Right now, I don't know if you've seen what's going on. Also, if you live in Jefferson County, if you don't vote for Paul Whelan, if you vote for this clown here, Dennis Gannon. I don't know if you saw his ad in here.
It took out a whole page, wasn't it?
It's a whole page. He's running for county executive. He's fighting illegal immigration.
Yeah, what the heck?
What the hell is that all about? I mean,
Well, I will tell you what that's about, according to what the License Bureau told me.
oh, I don't care what they say. It doesn't matter. The point is,
Of immigrants that are being poured into Jefferson County.
well, does anybody know? I mean, it has nothing to do with what they're saying.
Okay.
Is anybody here aware that there's all kinds of illegal immigrants coming in? Does that seem like a real problem here? You know,
He's playing off the whole
yeah, that's all he's doing. I'm not trying to be smart. He's just saying it's bull is what it amounts to. He's not doing anything.
Capitalizing on the media.
In fact, let me just say, Dennis Gannon, 2 years ago, closed down our county. I became public enemy #1, which is normal around this world. I became, because we were protesting health department, Kathy knows about that, we were protesting all that stuff. And so I became public enemy #1 in here because I was being the bad guy because, you know, if you aren't nice to all the COVID people, all the COVID deaths, and it actually started, I don't know if you know, in the Festus Nursing Home. You know, it started there. But the reason they had COVID deaths there is because they had people with COVID, and the idiots in charge would put, like New York, they'd actually put the regular patients in with the COVID patients. You know, one of the more brilliant things they do, you know, at this home. So it was obviously being mismanaged. I don't know if you people knew about that. I did. But they were going after me for that. This is one of my favorites too. He's recruiting jobs back from China.
Okay.
This is county executive. He can't even get anything. I've been in for many years, since Waller and the rest of them. Where's all our economic development? It's insane. It's insane. By the way, this gentleman is a councilman. I don't know if you don't know him. I know I said gentleman. I know it scared the hell out of you. Charlie Grodicke. Yeah, I mean, this is all malarkey. This is what they're doing. Oh, there's so much. Has anybody seen The Leader yet? It's worth it. It's really worth it. He's opposing the defund police. I've never seen him do any of this, ever. Have you?
No, absolutely not.
Never. Oh, Jim Terry was a councilman for, what, 6 years? Yeah. He got sick of it and he walked away. I don't blame him at all. I really don't. And the Port Authority, I don't even want to get into that one. And it's just amazing me. You know, he closed this clown, a so-called Republican. Everybody knows he's not really Republican, right? Well, he's got R next to his name. And if you put R next to your name, we have to make sure everybody knows what's going on here. So, I just wanted to point a couple things out. If you guys got something you want to say, that's fine. But there's one part in here, Bill and Jeff go together. And I don't even know who the hell they are. It's a PAC. Everybody knows what a PAC is, right? Political Action Committee. Dennis Gannon, Christy April, which I will tell you, you will vouch for me, probably the worst auditor in the history of this county. Am I right?
I would say that her answers are, at best, not what I would expect.
Yeah. In other words,
She was totally not
he told me, what's that?
She was totally not cooperative with the council.
Yes. And see, these people that get these positions are supposed to work with the council, and they don't do that. See, it's not what it should be. These are Republicans supposedly. Christy April is a Democrat, no doubt about it. Dennis Gannon is a Democrat. They have an R next to their name. Ken Waller, I think he's due, isn't he? Is he gonna have triplets or something like that? Oh, Billy's out here. I mean, really. I'm sorry.
That's because he sits all the time and eats.
Jeannie Goff. Did anybody see the debate between Jeannie Goff and my son, Jeremy?
Are you talking about Monday night?
No.
No. This is another time.
There was a debate then.
You got to give questions. Jeff Compatriots didn't give questions. Luckily, my question was the first question. And for those who were there, the first question was, how long you been a Republican? She stammered with that, 5-10 minutes? She didn't have an answer for that. She's not really Republican. Scott Seek, another Democrat. These are all Democrats. Michelle Worth, another Democrat. They're all playing Republican. I'm not excited about, a lot of us know Debbie Dunnigan. She's hanging with these people, so I've lost a lot of for her. Everybody on here is pretty much a Democrat. Debbie Dunnigan just plays whatever she got to play. So this is what we got. We got Democrats in this county who are running as a Republican. It's our jobs. You're running for state rep, right?
Yes.
And he's got to work. He's going against Gary Bonneker. By the way, you're in my district. I'm new to that district for reasons I'm not going to get into. But anyway, the point is that we have all these people running. They're running as Republicans. They are not. We have to get the word out. That's what we have to do. Shannon, did you want to say anything? Because you've never been there. Do you want to say something to these people? Because she's never had a chance in front of her Republicans to say anything. I want a couple of the politicians. You don't have to now, but would you do it later?
I'll say something.
Okay. Shannon's running for District 3. She's running against Phil Henriksen, for those of you who know who it is. I mean, if you don't, the guy's useless. I mean, he's the one who got the horses out, but he did say, that was a bad decision, but you should vote for me anyway. So, Republicans are, no offense, Republicans are generally lazy. They don't vet their candidates. Everybody here does. I know you wouldn't be here, but most people don't vet their candidates. We have to get the word out. We really do. I'm really nervous about this race because we worked hard on it, but some of the candidates, I won't get into their names, including my son, I don't think have done a very good job. Really, I shouldn't be that hard on my son, but you know, if you're a dad, you're always hard on your son. So anyway, some of the people that are in here, I don't know if you've read the leader, but it's actually really interesting. I want to point this out because these people, proven leadership, this is the worst leadership ever. Ken Waller was there for 8 years and did nothing. Does anybody know of economic development that goes on in this county?
What economic development?
Exactly. There is none. And that's the point. I've been to council how many times, Jim, and I get up there and I'd say, I don't know if you've been there. Has anybody here ever talked to the council, go to county council and do it? You gotta do it. You get up there, I mean, I used to go up there and say, well, you see, you guys got elected, and now that you're elected, you think your IQ went up 50 points. That's what they think, and they think they know everything, and that's what happens. So, you know, yes, sir.
I might add that if you read the charter, one of the specific tasks of the county executive is Chief Economic Development Officer.
Yes, and they've done nothing. They're depending on the port. You know, the port is okay, but it's not adding any jobs. I drove by the old Chrysler area. Did you see the brand new Amazon building? It's not here.
That's unfortunately St. Louis County.
Well, no, that's the point. It's just St. Louis County. Jefferson County doesn't have the leadership. You've been, for the people that are on the council, I want to ask you guys, have you seen anybody in charge, Waller or Gannon, that's done any economic development?
Oh, well, they did their announcement here a few months ago.
The only thing that I've seen is that Redbird project, and I don't even know where that's at because they've been so secretive about it, they won't tell you anything about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, they don't want us to know about it because they don't have it.
Yeah,
Or if they do.
After the election, they'll probably.
Now, Paul Whelan has brought some stuff here.
Yeah.
And I actually, you know,
Yeah.
Paul and I don't agree on everything, and, you know, that's just it. But Paul is actually, I think, someone that's going to do that. Because otherwise, he's got to put up with my face for 4 years, and I guarantee you don't want to listen to me. Because I'm mean as hell on the air. So, you know it. You guys know it. I don't care. I really don't care. You know, and that's how we got to do. You got to get to it. So anyway, I just want everybody to know about this. I want to make sure everybody goes to Take America Back rally. It's really important. It really is. The more people get there, the better it's going to be. And we welcome. Come on in. So, who is that? Oh, sure, husband come in, Shannon. So anyway, I want some of the candidates that are running to come up here and spend a few minutes, not forever. You know, you don't want more too much. But you want to start, Brandon? Okay, this is Brandon Wilkinson. He's running for U.S. I know. Go ahead. Anyway.
So I didn't know a lot of you. So I'm Brandon Wilkinson. I'm a regular guy. I'm a truck driver. About 12 years ago, I was really into politics, but I was just getting fed up. I'm always yelling at the TV, and I basically just said, I was actually sitting there with my best friend, and we were drinking beer, and Harry Reid was just lying through his teeth, and it was just infuriating me that they get away with this, because it was so easy to know it's a lie. And I turned over and I looked at my friend, I'm running for Congress. And he laughed and I laughed, and then I'm like, no, really? And he's like, next election? And I'm like, no, I got so much to learn. And then, unlike most people who jump in feet first, I spent a decade preparing, so I have a really good grasp and understanding on the issues, and all that time has also given me a lot of time to evaluate and come up with a lot of real solutions. Combining that with, you know, I never pandered to anyone. If you ask me a question and I know what you want to hear today, I will tell you, and I believe this B, I will tell you, listen, I know what you want to hear today, but I believe the answer is B, and here's why. I'll have that conversation. I'll give you the opportunity to, if you disagree with me, try to change my opinion. It's ever only happened once, and it was actually that guy. But I'll have that conversation. I'm endorsed by General Flynn, who cited me as being a champion for military veterans and law enforcement. I've helped a lot of veterans who are having problems with the VA and stuff over the years. He also cited a few other things like the way to bring back trust and transparency in our elections. We have to have that. I'm also endorsed by National Firearms Coalition. If they're worried about the Second Amendment, I am absolutely the guy in this race. I will never vote in favor of any legislation that infringes upon constitutional rights, especially our Second Amendment. But not only will I fight against the infringements, I will fight to take back ground. Let's see. I guess I'm now endorsed by you guys.
You're endorsed by us.
So that's great. Listen, you may not always agree with me, but you'll always know where I stand. I will never sugarcoat anything. If you want someone who will be a fighter, I'm the guy. And right now, that's what we need. We are on the verge of losing our country. This has become a battle between good and evil. Some people might say that's being hyperbolic. It's not. All right, we have a party, that one party, the Democrats, their leadership, the politicians, they support evil. They support telling some kids that they're racist while telling others that they're oppressed. They support and praise the murder of babies. They support lawlessness. They demonize our police and law enforcement. If we lost all our police in this country for one day, this country would collapse. Okay? They also support, and this one's a really big one for me, the mutilation and chemical castration of confused children. Now, a lot of people don't know what I'm talking about when I say that. So with these kids that are confused, and these adults play these games with them, saying, "Oh, you want to be a girl? You can be a girl. Let's transition you." So they mutilate them. The chemical castration part, there's a drug called Lupron, and it is one of the drugs used to transition these children. It historically has been used to chemically castrate pedophiles. So this is irreversible damage. Take all that and look at it. That's evil. And if we don't have good people who are ready and willing to fight, then we will lose this nation. I don't care if I'm called a racist, sexist, xenophobic, bigoted. I don't care. I have a son. I have like 20 nephews and nieces, and I want them to be free. And at the rate we're going right now, they're not going to have more freedom than us. They're going to have none unless good people get up and fight. I want to make a point here. All of you know there's a problem. That is why you're here. How can we overwhelmingly win these elections from here on out? It's actually really easy. If every single person who knows there is a problem just takes the time to talk to just one friend of theirs that they know does not vote, we will have landslide elections from here on out. So I'll be here until they kick us out. So I'd love to talk to you guys. I never dodge a question. I have yard signs over there if you're going to take them, because the way it did cut Jefferson County, I only have about half of Jefferson County. Please check with me first because they're expensive and we are running low. I think we only have a couple hundred left. So check with me and I'll let you know if you're in my district, and if so, I hope I'm able to earn your vote. And then for these other candidates.
I got a question.
Yes.
How much PAC money are you getting?
I've accepted $0 from PACs. I will not accept, there's only, the only PACs I would accept money from are ones that are 100% in line with myself. So if Right to Life wanted to give me money, I would take that. If a gun organization or a constitution organization, PAC, wanted to give me money, I would accept that.
How much PAC money does Blaine Lukemeyer get?
He is the third most financed candidate in Congress by the PACs.
Look, I'd be ready.
Number three.
I got to interview you, so that's why I do.
Yeah.
Okay, anybody got any questions, please ask them. But I guess my next question is, what is Blaine Lukemeyer? Where is he the year and a half that he's not running?
Yeah, so you only see or hear from Blaine when it comes time for your vote. And he thinks he can buy your vote because he has all the money to put the ads across everywhere. He doesn't listen to us, he doesn't represent us. We have this joke in our campaign where we were going to, as we're going on district, make posts like, "Where's Blaine?" Because we don't see him. This election, he actually has come out to a couple events because, our district shifted 40%, so I guess he feels maybe he should show his face at least once in a couple of these new counties. But I personally, I don't run around and trash my opponents. I don't know why I'm good. But I do redress grievances. Blaine is the the ranking member on the Small Business Committee. That man does not deserve to be on that committee, period. He stood by and watched our small businesses be shut down. We lost a lot of businesses in Jefferson County. I know quite a few. I ran in 2020, that was my foundation race. I said, listen, I can't win, this is about building a following so we can win 2022. And I've blown up, and I have a huge following in a big voice now, and reach a lot of people. But back then, in that time period, I had people reaching out to me because their businesses are going under because they're told they're not essential. Your job is essential to you. And in Congress, even though if it's a state issue, if it's something where I can't really do anything about it, I will still be the voice in your district fighting for you. I would never, ever support something like that. Economists estimated between 30 and 50% of small businesses were going to go under. Now, what you have to realize is the private market, 50% of the private market is small business. So if 30 to 50% of that is gone, we instantly lose roughly 25% of jobs in our nation. And the people, these are people, imagine, I'm sure some people in this room were told that they can't work. I'm a truck driver, so I was considered essential. Like I always said, and like I said a minute ago, your job is essential to you. It is essential to your family. Someone who just sat there and watched this happen and did not stand up and fight does not deserve to be on that committee. Also, he's on the banking committee. That is the most swamped committee in Congress. He's running these ads I'm for the lower middle class. These are the ads he's been running. I'm for the lower middle class. I'll fight for you. I'm running to drain the swamp. He is in the deepest part of the swamp, and he's been there for 14 years. So is he going to drain himself? Because, yeah, I have a personal vendetta here, and I'll make this story quick. My brother's a war hero. He has a Bronze Star of Valor, Purple Heart, 21 documented combat injuries, 3 years combat deployments. He got forced into medical retirement in 2015 because of his combat injuries. They immediately messed up his retirement and his disability. 4 months later, I find out because he's selling guns. We don't sell guns in my family, period. We buy them. And I reach out to him and talk to him, and I'm like, why did you hit me up? I've been preparing for a return to restaurant for 5 years. I know who to talk to. I call the departments, we get the runaround. So I'm like, you know what, let's call Blaine. I know back in the day, he did fight for our veterans. He lost his way and stopped caring at some point. And it was somewhere between 2011 and 2015. Because I know somebody helped in 2011, but when I called in 2015, his staffer actually got him on the phone. Blaine told me to tell my brother, tell your brother not to worry about it. I'm gonna get this stuff fixed. You're gonna hear back from me in 3 to 4 days. That was 7 years ago, I still have never heard back. It took 14 months for them to correct my brother's retirement. It took 16 months for them to correct his disability. At that point, they did give him the back pay, but at that point, my brother already lost everything he owned. A war hero. No veteran should ever face that, especially a war hero. If a veteran ever calls my office and they have a problem, if it is something that is in my purview as a congressman, and it's something that I'm responsible under with the constituency services, I will not rest until that veteran is taken care of. And I'm not going to tell his story, but he's a combat veteran, medically retired, and he's experienced some really horrific crap. And this is something that I know me and him in Congress will fight together to fix. I personally, I want to abolish the VA. It's junk, you can't fix it at this point. Let's just, basically, and TRICARE needs adjusted too, but these guys, they gave everything. These men and women gave everything. So why are we treating them as second-class citizens? Why are we not giving them what they were told they were going to get, what they earned? So I guess that's my little.
Any
pitch
questions?
there.
Anybody?
Any questions at all? I love questions. They're my favorite part of my campaign.
Yeah, old guy there.
Yes, sir.
I heard you're gonna be on the radio tomorrow morning, you might want to talk about that a little bit?
Oh, all right. Tomorrow morning I'll be on I'll be on Austin Peterson morning show, KWOS, with Austin Peterson and John Marsh. That's out of Jeff City, plays Jeff City, Columbia Market at 8:37. I'll be on the Vic Porcelli show at 9:45. Then Friday I'll be on with Jamie Altman. I do a lot of radio shows, so if you listen to the local stations, you probably hear me. And we're scheduling a bunch more up. I think I'm going to be on Deputies next week again.
What time are you doing Jamie's show?
Actually, I'm waiting on him to tell me the exact time.
Let me know, because you can do our show, because I'm on 93.3 on Friday.
Okay, excellent. I'll let you know. So as soon as he tells me time, he just said Friday morning work, and I said yep, and I'm waiting for just telling me time. So
Okay.
I appreciate it, guys. If you like what I stand for, you can go to my website, BrandonForMissouri.com, or you can go to my Facebook page. Let's go, Brandon Wilkinson. I don't like asking people for money, so what I say instead is this: if you gave me $20, what would I do with it? I would spend it on an ad, which would show me to new people. But you can do that for free. So you don't have to give me money, you can keep it. Go to my Facebook page, click the community button, invite your friends. It has the same effect as giving me money, because you're showing me to new people. That's how I've blown up down to the second largest political on Facebook in Missouri, which equates to about $14,000 in free advertisement every single week. So, yes ma'am.
Did I understand you correctly to say a moment ago that you want to do away with the VA?
I want to abolish the VA and give them real care. To be clear, I'm not talking about taking away any of the benefits the veterans got. The VA has turned to just, it's crumbling. The foundation is destroyed and the house is shaking. And it's going to collapse.
So
And the
how
veterans
are
are
you
not
doing
getting
that?
service. My personal opinion here is, and it's a really complex model, but I'm going to simplify it. Personal opinion is just right on the bat, abolishing the VA, there's so much waste there. It's something like, and Wesley probably knows the number, something like 60% of the
Government waste.
Of the money the VA gives is just wasted. Their administrative costs are ridiculous. It's 1/3 of their cost, just right off the top. So abolish it, put that money, just let's get them all on TRICARE, or and give them good insurance where they can go to any hospital they want and get the service and treatment they want. Here's a big problem right now. The VA does not take care of a lot of issues. If any of you know about the toxic exposure with burn pits, it's a big deal to veterans. Most veterans are exposed to it. There's all these conditions and
You mean the
diseases
new
that-
Agent Orange?
Yes, exactly it is. And it's commonly referred to as that. A lot of veterans have a lot of problems. The VA does not do the testing for most of those sicknesses, those diseases, and those conditions. If you go to the private market, and get those tests done and take them back to the VA, they'll say, we don't honor that because we didn't do it. And you say, well, let's do the testing. They'll say, we don't. That's crap. So people are dying, literally. Soldiers are dying, troops are dying, veterans are dying because the VA will not provide them the services that they earned. And the Army's fault that they have.
But there's a problem with TRICARE too, because when they
That's-
sent my husband out, and there's, what, 9 million veterans in this country, and we had to go through TRICARE, I ended up having to fight, even though VA sent him to the civilian doctors.
Yes.
I ended up having to fight to get those bills paid.
So that's where I said, because I said I want to abolish the VA and I want to fix TRICARE. TRICARE, overall, it's a lot better. It's way better than what the main good at VA. But there are still some problems with TRICARE that need to be fixed.
Right.
We can definitely make it better. We can make it like private market insurance, like what we have, where we don't get to jerk around and deal with ridiculous on this. These guys especially, everyone deserves what they've been promised in their jobs. Everyone deserves the benefits that they were promised and guaranteed. But especially the people like Wesley Smith, who fought for our nation, put his life on the line, watched his friends get killed, came home with all kinds of wounds. This guy was medically tired because he had a broken neck and broken back. Those people, those are the ones that we should never accept. We should never accept for us, but we really shouldn't for our veterans. They deserve far better. I'm from a big military family, and it's unacceptable. And after this happened to my brother, everyone says we support our veterans, but it ends at words. Even from a big military family like mine, it ended at words. Until I saw what happened to my brother. And then I started going out and going out to VAs, or VFWs, talking to veterans, and I found it was very, very common. So I started using the knowledge I had to help the guys I could. I would say probably between 5 to 10% of veterans that I spoke to at VFWs have faced very similar problems to my brother. I know Wesley has. This just got fixed.
Okay, all right, we got other ones.
Yep,
Let you
thank
go.
you.
Thanks, Brandon.
I'd love to talk to anyone
All
else.
right.
Talk after.
Anybody else who's a candidate? This is your chance, guys. Thanks, Brandon.
Yes.
Shannon, we haven't heard from you. Get up here.
We're friendly.
Shannon, of course, is running for 3rd District County Council. County Council is very important, and she wouldn't be brand new at it. So, but I want to add to it what she's done. Because after, I want Tony to talk a little bit, and I'm going to tell you why it works if you get the right people on there. Go ahead.
Hi, I'm Shannon Otto. For those of you that don't know me, I'm running for County Council District 3. I have never been involved in politics before. I've worked closely with some local school districts in Jefferson County to try to make some changes to our school districts. That's kind of what opened my eyes to politics, and I figured out schools are politics. So if I'm already doing that, then why not make a difference on a bigger scale and try to help change Jefferson County? And there's a lot of infrastructure going on right now that I don't necessarily agree with, so I'd like to know a little bit more and help make some of those changes.
Now, I want to say one thing about Shannon. Shannon started out with a group called PAC. And PAC is, what does that stand for exactly?
Parents advocating change for kids.
That was Fox Schools. And the point is with all the garbage going to schools, she was really a leader with Mike Gross to get that going so they could get the school board to pay attention to what's going on. The school boards are terrible. And the reason why the school boards are still terrible, a whole 18% of the people voted in last election. All these people are concerned about the schools. She is concerned, so she took that. I think Renee talked to her about running for county council because she's good at what she does. She does a lot of stuff. She really does for the community. And we need those people there. We don't need the same, like Phil Henry said, what a joke. I'm sorry, nothing against Phil. He's a nice guy, but he's terrible. Would you be approving all these developments that they're doing?
No, it needs to slow down. Let's have a master plan, let's stick to the master plan, and let's get the community involved in developing that master plan. Yes.
Wonder if you want to become chair, like Phil did, and then you're promised to become chair if you vote with these other people for all these developments. I mean, he wanted that for a long time, and it's a huge thing for him to become chair. That was one reason why he said, yeah, I'll go along with everybody else.
There's a lot of responsibility that comes with being chair, and I'm not afraid to stand against what that responsibility is and stand up and say, no, I'm not for this. And I'm not going to agree with everyone all the time, and they're not going to agree with me all the time, but I'm not going to just rubber stamp and say yes all the time. I'm going to sit down and do the research and put the time into it. You know, I've learned that in the community, I've become a great leader, and I think a lot of people have trusted in me to take a stand, and they know I'm not afraid to do that they are afraid to or put their name on. And I think that's why it's time for this change, and I'm ready to stand up.
Any questions? Everybody shy? Come on. Okay, all right. Thanks, Shannon. I mean, she's really, thanks. What else we got here? Bob, you want to say something real quick?
I've already spoken in front of this group, and I don't mind doing it. Talk about myself.
Not all the same people were here. If you tell a
And
different
plus,
story, we don't want you to
we are
sit here.
live on Twitch, Facebook, and TikTok.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Bob Tullock. I'm running for County Council, District 7. For those of you who may not be familiar with that area, as a general rule, it's basically everything south of Highway MM all the way to the county line. And for the most part, everything west of 21 to the county line. There are a few exceptions. Where do I stand on some of the issues? Development is probably one of the biggest issues that I've got. It's not so much overdevelopment, it's trying to develop it in the right way. That needs to be defined in our master plan, which we addressed a little bit, but it's being manipulated so much and to the extent that it's being abused. The council is being forced, and the P&Z is being forced to take a reactive approach to development as opposed to a proactive approach to development. The people elect the councilmen as their representatives to make these decisions. But what's happening is most of these decisions are being made by appointed people. That's not right. So that's one of the things that I've got on my agenda. And it's not only coming from me, but I've been doing a lot of door-to-door over the last 4 to 5 months. And that's probably one of the 3 biggest issues that people are complaining about. The 2 others are crime and drugs. Those, especially in the Cedar Hill area, is a huge problem in that area. And certainly we need to get those addressed. Anybody have any questions for me, or?
I always have questions. So how many union contractors have given you big checks?
I was endorsed by the AFL-CIO, and I've received, I want to say 5, maybe 6, something like that. So.
Okay, but you haven't been endorsed by mostly contractors like
No,
McBride and Son?
absolutely no contract.
Because that is what's mostly moving into Jefferson County and building all these subdivisions. McBride and Son seems to be.
Well, they call them McBride with no pride for a
Right.
reason. So.
Right. What are you going to do to fix the problems we're gonna have? Now that they're putting all these subdivisions in, we're gonna have flooding problems. We're gonna have rain runoff problems.
Well, it starts with the P&Z process. The P&Z process is fatally flawed in some respects. By the time, these are supposed to be public hearings for the public to participate. Okay, that's not what happens.
No.
Generally, the residents get, if they're lucky, maybe 30 days notice that something's happening, and that's only if you live within 600 feet of that development. So if you live a half a mile away, you have no idea that any of that's going on.
Or 700 feet.
700 feet, whatever it is. It's not, 600 feet is the bare minimum. And what I see is the major complaint from most people is by the time they come up, they learn that it's happening with the P&Z, that was a week ago, that the P&Z had their hearing on it. So a couple things we can do to fix that. I would like to see the P&Z be broken up in at least a 2-stage process, where we have an initial hearing phase, and then we have a second hearing phase that's at least 2 weeks apart. So that way, by the time people hear what's being proposed, because the proponents, which is typically the developers, they have weeks, months, even a year or more to make up their plan and their argument before the council, or before the P&Z, and then ultimately before the council. And that's what a lot of people don't understand. I hear a lot of them come up before the council and want to ask the council their opinions. The council is basically like a judge. All the evidence that's presented has to be presented at the P&Z. And then the council makes their decisions on the evidence that was presented at the P&Z. And the council is actually prohibited and threatened sometimes that they can't get involved. They can't find out the facts on their own other than what's being said at the P&Z.
But if whoever gets elected is going to adopt these problems, And they are coming. And there are going to be a lot of them.
Well, the most.
So, and we already have problems. We've had problems in the past with whole subdivisions that contractors have just walked away from because they didn't have the septic or they didn't have the roads. So we already have problems ongoing that no one ever fixed. Well, now you're going to have problems with, you're talking about $300,000 to $500,000 houses, and their basements are filling up with water.
Well, that's where the master plan comes into play. We had, during the last master plan, they sent out a survey to folks. There was, I think, 199 something responses out of 200 and something thousand people that responded on it. Now, was there an active effort to do that? I don't think so. I mean, I sent out a simple survey in District 7. I got almost 200 responses just from my simple survey, just from one person.
Right.
You know, so I don't see why the county can't make some kind of effort to get the response from the residents that they want. I mean, it's not the county as a county, it's the residents. It belongs to the residents. The problem is that they're not being represented appropriately. You know, there are two philosophies that I see on the county council. That there are people on the council and other areas that think that they are there to make decisions for their constituents. That's not me. I'm there to make decisions on behalf of my constituents. That's why I went to such a strong length to be at most every one of these meetings since I signed up, and to participate in, I think, every debate except the first one, that's because there was a council meeting. So I can't be in two places at one time. So.
Can you explain to this group a little bit about CIDs and what these developers are doing with CIDs?
That's what he's referring to as community development, community improvement development districts. What you have now are some of these developers. And traditionally they've always had to pay for the roads, the plumbing, sewer districts, everything that was part of their project, and they incorporated that into their price. The problem is since we have the community improvement development districts now, the way that typically works is you have a neighborhood form their community improvement development districts, and then they say, okay, well, we're going to finance these sewer districts, or we're going to finance whatever they need to do in that subdivision, their infrastructure. And that's fine, I don't have a problem with that at all, because it takes more of 50% or more, or over 50% to get it approved. The problem we see here is these new developments just happen on Bear Creek. The developer owns 100% of the project, so they're making those decisions, creating these CIDs initially. Well, of course they're going to get the votes because they've got more than 50%. Now, can the council in our master plan restrict that? That's something we need to look into. And that's one of the problems. That's one of the other problems that I've got is the county council needs its own attorney, because we have the executive branch, which is basically the county attorney, answers to the executive branch, supposedly the whole county, but who hires and fires this attorney? It's not the county council. So if the councilman, or even a majority of the council, wants to get an honest opinion, an unbiased opinion from an attorney, we don't have that. And that needs to be addressed.
Because only the county executive is represented.
Found that in the lawsuit.
Well, these are just cold hard facts. And they
One more
can't be addressed.
question. How much experience do you have with this?
Oh. I've lived in Jefferson County since 1969. My wife and I did move up to Manchester for about 15 years. During that 15-year period, I served on the City of Manchester's Board of Aldermen in District 1 for 3 two-year terms. So I've been familiar with a lot of stuff. That's one of the things that kind of aggravates me, because some of the stuff that I see happening in Jefferson County, they say, well, that's the way it has to be done. No, that's not the way it has to be done. Because you're dealing with someone who's seen it from the outside, dealing with TIFs and TDDs and multi-million-dollar projects and multi-million-dollar budgets. So I'm a little bit familiar with how that system works elsewhere. So it's bringing up fresh. So whenever somebody in the county says, no, you can't do that, I say, wait a minute. Yeah, you can do it. Here's the reason why. Because it's every county, form of government in the state of Missouri is covered by, you're either a class 3 city, class 4 city, the county like we are. Every form of government has its own rules, and that's set up by state statute.
Okay, all right now, thanks, Bob. The reason I asked that is because if, like, we supported, I don't know if you saw it, real Republicans have supported 4 people for county council: Ken Merrill, who's in here, Shannon Otto, Tony Pasosa, and Bob Tulloch. Bob Tulloch has experience, Shannon has none. She needs these people to help her. That's important. You just can't put all rookies on there. That's what they're doing. You know, other people try to put Bobby Kay on, or Scott Seek. Scott Seek is nowhere near a Republican than I am a female. No comment. Anyway, so Tony, you want to come up? Tony's running for District 5, and he'll tell you about his experience and everything. So, for county council. So.
Bob and Shannon kind of covered everything. I mean, we're all on the same page in that, so I'll kind of talk about myself just a little bit as far as the experience part of it. I was an alderman in the city of Green Park for 12 years, and I also served on their Planning and Zoning Commission for 10 years. So I have an idea of the problems that the planning and zoning have, like Bob had mentioned, that need to be fixed. When we had a planning and zoning meeting, if we had to sit there till 1 o'clock in the morning until every resident had to speak, either if they were for or against the project, they were able to do so. And that's your responsibility. If you decide you want to serve on the Planning and Zoning Commission, that you need to sit there and listen, because that's your job. If you're an alderman, the same thing. Once that plan comes to the Board of Aldermen, you have to sit there and listen to all the different sides before you make a decision. If you can't do that, then you're not serving your people. And that's just one of the things that I bring to the table. And I apologize, I look a little rough, but I was out knocking doors from 10 o'clock in the morning until about 4 o'clock. And yes, it was 100 degrees and the heat index was 105, but that's what I need to do because we're up against a machine that's lying to everyone. I'm going to stand before you and say that I am a conservative, and I've voted in every election since I was 18 years old, and it's always been conservative. If you don't know my story, my dad came from a communist country. He educated me at a very early age on what is happening in this country. Happened to him. He lived through it. And it's what's happened. That's why I'm getting involved. I mean, he was still going through the process to become an American citizen, and he signed up to go over to Vietnam. And when he signed up, it was during the Tet Offensive. So when he first got there, that's when the bombing started, and it lasted a year. And that's why I'm so passionate about that, because I know your story, and thank you for your service, because it hits close to home. And I mean, if we lose this country, we're on the brink. We're at the crossroads. We're at the crossroads for Jefferson County. We're at the crossroads for our country, our state. And if we don't make a stand, we're going to lose it all. And we're close. And that's what I bring to the table. I want to work with Bob. I want to work with Shannon, because we will give the people their voice. That's what they want. I've knocked on thousands of doors, thousands upon thousands of doors since April. And everything that you see on my website, TonyPazosa.com, is not things that I made up. Those are things that people are telling me that they want. They want to see our government do for them. And we need people, such as myself. I'm not afraid to stand up and be the odd man out. If I'm the only one that stands against a project, then so be it, because I know what that's like. I served on an aldermanic board where sometimes I was the odd man out. And you have to be able to do that if you're going to represent the people that elected you. So I'll take any questions that you have for me.
I just want to say I went with Tony last Saturday. We went door to door. And he got an excellent response. We talked to one guy, thank you. We talked to one
She earned it.
Yeah.
It was just
we
as
talked to
hot
one
when we
guy,
went out.
and he had a culvert in the back of his house that kind of wrapped around his house, and they had bought they had built a subdivision up on the hill, so all their crap is coming down the hill. And that culvert now jams up right next to his house. So the back of his house, the ground and everything is starting to fall away from his house because the water, you know how water, it just keeps flowing. So it's taken all all the soil from the back of his house, around his house, and no one's helping this guy. And it's because they built a subdivision up on a hill, and this is what happens. So that was a perfect example. And we talked to people after people, didn't we?
Yeah.
Person after person, we saw, and you can't get very far when you do that because you're there for a half hour, 45 minutes, whatever. But you know what? You find out how devastated people are about their homes. What's your biggest investment? Your home. So, you know, when you see this happening and nobody's helping you, and it's going to happen to a lot more subdivisions now, full of homes, because no one is watching these builders. Nobody's making sure that they're doing the right thing. And that's the job of the council, is they bring their plans in and they say, this is what we got, and the council looks it over and they say, well, this isn't being addressed, this isn't being addressed, this isn't being addressed. And so they have to go back and fix all these things. But this council now, not leaving Charlie and Renee out, but with Haskins and Tracy Berry when she was in office, they're not doing that. They don't care about you. They don't care about me. They don't care about Tony or anybody. They could care less. They're making their millions and billions. So they don't care about us here.
Yeah, while they're talking about, and brought something in here, while they're talking about how wonderful they are and how they've done so, first of all, no economic development, which means there's really no jobs here, and the jobs are here are very minimal. Jefferson County among highest in state for opioid deaths. That's usually from, there's no work, or the work is garbage. You know, it's all minimum wage work. That's why we're here. They don't talk about this when they're doing this, and that's why we have to connect with the voters.
What, you mean that PDMP isn't working?
Yeah, well, PDMP was going to do everything, and Renee was on there, Charlie was on there. We defeated PDMP. We all worked hard, and guess what happened? They went to the pathetic health department, and some way or another got it passed that way. The county council was totally dismissed. Totally.
And they've done that numerous times.
That's before we had these other clowns on there.
They've sued the county residents and refused to pay the attorney when the council was defending the people. They refused to pay the attorney. These guys are not good guys. They're bad guys. Dennis Cannon is a bad guy. He's not a good guy. He
wasn't as
doesn't care
bad,
about Jefferson County.
but once he got in there, he started associating with Derek Good, who's the slimiest guy in the By the way, I don't know if people know who Derek Good is, most of us do, but he's also the secretary of the Republican Party. And that's why I tell everybody here, don't vote for anybody's establishment. If you do, you're helping them. You're helping the enemy. You can't do
That's
that.
why we need help getting out with these candidates and walking with these candidates. Even if you can do an hour, if you can do an hour and a half, if you come to the polls and stand at the polls for a couple hours, if you give your money, there's a number of ways you can help them, but they desperately need it. Tony and I and his wife and infant were out there by ourselves, going door to door. I know Jeremy came later, but Jeremy's running too. Nobody else. No, and you should have seen the subdivision he had to cover. And this goes on day after day, and you see nobody. Nobody volunteers. Nobody calls Tony. He'll give you his number. Nobody contacts him and says, look, I know you need help. I'll be out there with you. So when your county goes down the crapper, which it's going, you have yourself to blame. Because I've been out there giving money, I've been walking with these guys, I'll be there on election day, and I hold down a full-time job.
And it can be done, because we went out there and defeated Prop P.
And I'm tired of people coming to meetings And no one shows up to help these guys. Nobody. And I know that because I've been on multiple times walking with these guys, and it's just been us. And that's it.
In fact, I want to say that we actually went out there and helped the school board candidates, and they're nowhere to be found. It really frustrates me, it really does.
It frustrates all of us that are out there.
Well, then that's
I
exactly
called
what we
too.
need is, you know, I need people to work the polls for me especially because my seat is gonna be the swing seat. And if we lose that, I mean, we're gonna be back to square one again.
Right.
I need people, I have about 9 or 10 polling places. I mean, I'm not, you know, I'll be out there all day trying to work my way around to the most important areas that I can get to in a 13-hour period. But that's where we need help. I mean, even if you stand there and you have a poll that has all the people you support and you say, hey, this is, because there are going to be so many people that come to the polls and they're not sure who they're voting for.
Trust me.
You don't want to turn them away because, hey, at least we get them to the polling place. Now we need to direct them to the right people to vote for if we're going to make a difference.
And right now, we can vote against the establishment. So we got the candidates, but anybody got any more questions, or we got?
Go ahead. I was just gonna say something in general. I'll say it after you all say that.
Both ladies. Okay, well, let's go another candidate real quick, okay?
Yeah, I'll say that. Thank you.
Well, I'd like to say one thing real quick. With respect to at the polls, how much of a difference that makes. During this Prop P, I stood at my polling place. There were only 550 some odd voters there, but I stood there the entire day. And it was amazing how many people had no idea what the Prop P was.
Right.
I would say a good, probably 10%, so it's 50 voters.
Yeah. Well, back in 2014, was it, Jared? 2014, I had a pack called Cleanup Crew. Every precinct that we had people there, we won. Unfortunately, we had 5 people or 6 people. If you're there, people will vote for them. They will. Most people go to polls, they don't have a clue who to vote for. That's it.
Just that interaction outside of you saying to someone, hey, Brandon's the guy, or Jerry's the guy, or I'm sorry, Jeremy's the guy, or whatever. That means a lot to people. Even if they don't know who you are, they know that someone is out there who wants to give up their time to help you. That really does hit people. It impacts them. And so if they're not looking, they don't know who they're voting on in that race, they're probably going to vote for the person who said something outside, or the person who they heard his name outside.
Yeah.
It really is impactful.
Charlie?
Yeah, I just like to say the seat that Tony's running for on the county council is probably more important than any of the other seats right now, because he's going to be, whoever wins that seat is going to be sworn into office almost immediately, because that seat is vacant.
Yeah.
So that will be, if it doesn't go the right way, that vote can change a lot of things in a short period of time. So if Tony wins that seat, he's a good, strong, conservative voice for the people he represents. It can sway the vote on the county council until after the November elections, because he's going to be actually placed in office, whoever wins that, almost the week after the election.
And for those of you who don't know, the reason for that is Tracy Perry was there, and there's a few of us in this room that got her out because she didn't live in her district. We can do this. We did Prop P, we can do this. We need everybody help. That's just it. That's what we got to do.
We've done a number of things, and we've shown that to get out and speak your mind and be active makes a difference. We stopped a mask mandate here in the county because there were those of us that went out there and protested at the health department. We stopped it here.
We stopped it.
That brought in more money into the county because people were coming from the city and St. Louis County because they wanted to get away from that crap, and so they came out here. Now, I know members of the county council have said they were responsible for that. They were not.
No.
They were not.
Linda and I were out there, believe me, we were out there.
And we stood out in the cold, in the rain, in the heat, and we protested at that health department and scared them so much that they tried to pass one and they did it wrong and they got in trouble and they never tried again. So being active makes a difference. If you don't think your one voice makes a difference, it definitely does.
Yeah.
It definitely does. does.
That's when I became public enemy #1, because they put my picture
Yeah.
talking
You're
to
still out
somebody
there.
on the very front of the Post-Dispatch, and I was villain. I was the villain. So, Jerry, you want to say something?
Sure.
I don't like this kid. For those of you who don't know, this is my son. So,
Yeah, this is completely unfair on his behalf.
It's a better day.
Well, you know what, actually, it's kind of funny.
day.
It's kind of funny, there was actually, it takes a new day to build Jeffco, Friends for a New Day, but the best one that I heard is one of my daughter's friend's father said, "What a difference a day makes." And I'm just like, that's genius. Why didn't I think of that earlier? So that was...
Maybe we should like this.
That was great. That's what you need. Everybody needs one of them. So, a lot of you, who didn't get to hear me the other night, at the Republican Club and everything. Generally, you can see the two different philosophies between myself and my opponent and everything. As far as how we approach things. The difference is obviously, she's been there for a while, and I've sought the office before, and I've done things actually against the office because they weren't following the law. Hence the 25-foot rule. The fact that, for those who do not remember, before 2016, a letter was sent out to every single polling place allowing them to bar poll workers. No electioneering, even though the state law said 25 feet. So, in 2016, there's a handful of us that decided to go out and say, hey, no, that's what we need to enforce. We need to enforce the law. That freedom of expression is allowed, not just by the Constitution, but by the Missouri Constitution and statute at the same time. So we stood at a poll, and I remember famously on Facebook, my father put on there, I think we're about to get arrested. And so they kind of put a spin on things, and we had a lot of folks kind of tune into that. And what we did is we taught everybody how to respectfully and properly work a poll within the constraints of what the law says. And not hinder anybody, not try to block people from going in to where they're stopped from voting, where they feel like they're pestered. Try to show an example as well as abide by the law. Well, next thing you know, an election official comes out and says, "Hey, you guys need to go." Well, wait a second here. I have Missouri statute right here that tells me that I'm allowed to be here. Well, lo and behold, the cops come. I think we had 3 deputies that ended up showing up, and it became a point where they were either going to take us away, or we're actually going to be able to win and actually stand on the law. And luckily, a couple phone calls were made by those deputies, and we stood the entire time. We opened it up for everything. Everybody finally understood that between city attorneys and county attorneys, they finally understood and said, well, you know what? This isn't enforceable at all. What is enforceable is the 25-foot rule, which we were properly showing. And so that was my first real run-in as far as when it came to the clerk's office. Yes, I ran in 2014. Like anything else, when you want to try and step up, be a leader, you pick your spot, and that's where it was. And I think when it came to the clerk's office, that's when I really got focused on where I would be able to apply myself the best. Unfortunately, in an office like this, what we have in Jefferson County, we have the revolving door of elected officials that just seem to go from spot to spot. You have a county clerk that's there for years, and then you have somebody who was the son of the current circuit clerk, was a state representative, end up being the county clerk. Well, he resigns. Well, they take the guy that was the assessor for years, and they put him in there. And then after the election of 2018, which unfortunately I lost in the primary, well, they took the former county executive and put the former county executive in there. This is madness. And we allow this to happen. So I guess what makes me more, my intention was not to come up here and get upset, but it's for the simple fact that if you worked in that office as long as you have, and you are displaying to everybody that you're the one that is running the show the entire time. I have had to train so many new clerks through here. Well, you know what? Then why do you have to put promises and that letter right there that when you could have been doing it for the past 30 years that you're in there. It's absolutely, I mean, and that's what we call pandering. It is, that's what we call pandering to everybody, instead of actually, doing something. So, and I respect what she has done, and, there's a lot of hard work that gets put into it and everything, but I'm sorry, I have a perspective, it's time to get in there and do some things. So, first of all, anybody here belong to a political subdivision or been on a political subdivision board? Okay, exactly. So who pays for those elections?
We do.
Bingo. The board pays for them, the taxpayers pay for them. So basically, why don't you tell me then, who provides the cost? Who provides the estimate for those elections that you have to pay for?
Clerk's office.
Bingo, the clerk's office. All right, now, here's the kicker. Is that what the actual cost of the election is? No, that is not what the cost of the election is. The cost of the election is what you find out after the election is over with, when you have to wait around for a check from the county to make up the funds that you've lost. Well, here, we love our firefighters, we love our teachers, we love our paramedics, we love all our first responders. That is money that can be used to help sustain things that we need. The price of gas right now is sky high, but we're having to overspend and wait for a check to come back, from the county. We can do better than this, and that's when you have to work with the county council. You have to work with, new council members, say, hey, we need to change how this is done, because the clerk's office is able to do that. We just have to restructure, how we change the funding. But basically, my proposal is this, is that we will go ahead, we have an estimate, we will charge half. We will charge you half of what it's gonna cost. You send us money in for that, and then after the election is over with, then you turn around and we give you the actual bill. So you're not overpaying for elections. You keep those funds that you need. It makes so much more sense to do it that way. And as a board member, if I'm waiting on a $12,000 check from the county because we paid $12,000 more than we actually needed, I'm a little upset. I'm just wondering how that's happening in the first place. So, I'm not going to go on and on and on. There's been enough folks that have talked, but it's limited.
Do you know how much it cost us for that property to be put on the ballot?
I was going to say almost 80 grand. Yeah. It was close. Yeah.
Which was
about 80
approved
grand.
by not these two here, the two council people. It was approved by them, and it was approved by all these other council people, plus the county executive who has to sign.
And
Yeah.
what are we wanting so badly in the county that we could have spent part of that money on?
Well, we need a courthouse and a jail. And it's just one thing that I will agree with Dennis on. If he said, well, yeah, if you're up there saying that we need a courthouse and a jail, and that's why we couldn't do the parks tax, well then you gotta be on board with us. You know what? I'm on board for the idea, and at the same time, I know that we need it. But you gotta get your priorities straight, and that's the problem with the our priorities were not straight on that at all. Nothing was really explained, except, what could help something in High Ridge, as a project.
Our job as a council though, if we get the right people in there, is if something like that does get approved by the voters, that we have to take that in moderation. We can't build a Taj Mahal kind of facility. We need to do something that serves its purpose, not something to be competing with some other city or municipality or county.
And I know the jail and the courthouse is unrelated to the office that I'm running for. And the other things I talk about is, voter rolls. That's one thing that we do know, especially that was exposed by the Missouri canvasser. Even Secretary of State Jay Ashcroft, will say the same thing. He'll say that the voter rolls are better, but in consideration, if you have 91% of all potential eligible voters on your voter rolls, that's a little high as comparison to 71%, which is for most normal state senators. So I'm not afraid to do this. We need a forensic audit. You know, there are professionals out there that will come in and actually, you know, help you with the forensic audit, so you can identify, you know, the folks. In fact, with Tony, you know, Tony and I were door knocking the other day, and there was a citizen that kept saying, well, you know what, my daughter hasn't lived here in 15 years, but she keeps getting a car every single time. And he goes, well, you know what, good for her. She doesn't live around here. She doesn't live in this, I think she didn't live in the state, but she doesn't come in and vote twice. You know, okay, that's great. You know, the only way that you can actually turn around and verify if anybody, you know, isn't there is they wait for a return to sender. If you get a return to sender, then they'll go ahead and they'll put you on the inactive list. You know, we can do something about this. You know, and that's why I say forensic audit. Did anybody see what happened in St. Charles after their April elections? Anybody see the county council meeting that they had when the Missouri canvassers came in, and you know they cited, I think it was like 287 cases where that was actually happening in an April election with low voter turnout. You know, just imagine if you needed higher voter turnout. So, any more questions?
I have a
No,
question.
go ahead, Kathy.
I don't really have a question for you. I just wanted to make a general statement. With elections going on now, people look for stuff to dig out on other people. And when you put your trust behind someone, you want them to morally act the way they should. And so what I do get tired of seeing is people that are elected will go out and drink and drive and have an accident, and then they're all over the news, and you're waiting on pins and needles to hear if they're a Republican or Democrat. So when you run for these offices, make it your point to live morally. And don't embarrass the people that vote for you by doing something stupid that gets you in the papers. This girl here, I've watched her walk the walk for about a year now. I didn't know her before that. But when I tell you she's got balls than most men, I mean she's got balls than most men.
Most women do.
And she will do the right thing. I have complete faith in her that she's not going to just join with someone to join with them. So pass that along to your friends. But remember, be morally ethic when you go out there and you hold these positions. Don't embarrass the people that support you by one stupid act when you could take an Uber home or call a friend or whatever it is. Don't get yourself in that position.
I'm going to add this to what she said.
Yeah. We
We did a truck rally one time. We went downtown, and we were going to, we protested Channel 4. I like to protest if I can. Anyway, all these cars out there, one other guy got out of the car, and a bunch of women get out. What a bunch of wussies. So I have more respect for women when it comes to this men. I just do. It was Channel 4. No, Channel 4, you weren't there.
And I might say Mark Mikowski.
No, it was Channel 4 down by, I mean, I know what it was.
Mark
Go away.
Mikowski.
Next speaker.
Wait,
Who's
Okay.
there?
Wait, no, Peter
Mikowski's
had a
right,
question real
eh?
quick.
Peter had a question.
Hold on.
Super Dave.
We were talking about building tax for the election. Is that like for a cause or something? Is that for a candidate running for office or?
Anytime that you are required to have an election every single year's political subdivision. Certain seats are up, unless, it depends on, but generally, like, let's say the ambulance district that I serve on and Kathy served on previously, there's an election every single year. You have to provide the cost. You have to pay for that election if you have more than one candidate on there. If you have two candidates on there, if you have, depending on seat, if you have more than two candidates, if you have three, let's say there's one seat that's up. If you have two candidates on there, you have to pay the county clerk to run that election.
And it's the ambulance district that pays you for it, right?
And the ambulance district
Or
is the one
whatever-
that taxpayers
whatever.
pay for it.
Right, so if you bill half now and half later, you're gonna get your money later. It's not like Fred Smith is running and Fred's campaign didn't win, so see you later.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so you will get your money going down next year.
Yeah. But it should, I mean, at the same time, you know, like I said, there's certain organizations that really need those funds. And, you know, waiting, problem is that, you know, with government, trying to get a check back from them is about as hard. Not saying it doesn't happen, but, you know, it started with, you know, we're overpaying $2,000 for an election. Now we're overpaying $5,000 for an election. Last time it was $12,000 for an election. And so it gives you an idea, you know, what it's for. But,
Are you on TikTok, YouTube?
no,
Facebook?
I am not on TikTok.
Yeah, if you were on TikTok, we were going to ask more questions.
Yeah. I'm not on TikTok. I am not on YouTube. My website is jeremyforjeffcoclerk.com, and obviously Jeremy for Jefferson County Clerk on Facebook. I do have an Instagram account now. Apparently you do have one of them, and it's connected to your Facebook. But you know, any information that you need can always be sent to me directly. And yes, I do answer questions. I get baited a lot. That's one thing that does happen whenever you run for office.
All right,
Everybody knows.
a couple more people, we gotta get moving here.
Yeah.
You want to come up here? All right, I've never met David here, thanks Jeremy.
All right.
And it was Chelsea before I was there.
What's that?
Down by the artist place, so.
Yeah.
Anyway, nice to
I'm
meet you.
here. How's it going, guys? I'm Christopher Ray, I'm running for State Representative District 111. I have been a realtor for 7 years now. I became a realtor because I saw an issue in that. As most of you know, realtors, that's one of the things that people shy away from a lot of times. And politicians is another big one that people shy away from. I would not call myself a politician. If I get elected, I'm going to be a representative of the people. I have not taken campaign donations from any PACs, any persons, or anybody. I will not be swayed. I will not essentially give people the ability to tell me you need to vote this way. I want to be a representative of the people, and I want to listen to the people and vote how they would like me to vote. Any questions? I'm going to try to keep it short because we are running out of time. It's almost 8 o'clock.
What's your stance on, oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
What's your stance on our Constitution, overall, all rights?
I believe we're losing our rights on a daily basis. One thing is our schools. They're not teaching cursive in school anymore. That's one thing I think we should bring back, because without the knowledge, you can't even read the Constitution the way it was written.
So what about if the bill comes up, let's say it was a perfect bill, 99.9% of things in it were perfect, they would absolutely help. But then there was that 0.1% that infringed upon any constitutional right. What would your stance be?
Sorry, it's not going to get voted on by me. I don't do the compromise. If somebody brings a bill up that has a lot of good things in it, but they say there's one thing that's going to take a right away from us, it's not going to get voted on by me. I believe our people,
Planned Parenthood funding. That's what they do. They put all this in there, then they throw that in there.
Then they throw something else in, and it's not going to happen. I'm not going to bend. I'm not going to compromise. I don't think we should compromise. That's our freedoms. That's what our country was built on, freedoms. That's the reason people come to our country, is to be free, and we're losing them freedoms.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Old molecular biologist. I went to the health department. We have the devil here in Missouri. Pfizer. Peter Navarro.
Pharmaceutical company.
Yep. Peter Navarro made sure Missouri had lots of ivermectin and hydroxychloroquine. You know who blocked it? The Missouri State House and Rhino Governor Carson. Are you prepared to stand up to the devil? Because Big Pharma, we got Bayer here. Bayer was the one who produced Cyclones Bay in World War II. Bayer is the one who provided all the experimental medications for Dr. Joseph Mengele in Auschwitz-Birkenau. So if you think these guys are nice, they've never been nice.
I will not bend to these people, and I will not be swayed.
Yeah. Well, one of the people we're supposedly endorsing that I'm supposed to vote for said he would take money from Pfizer and Bayer. You think I'm voting for that guy? Hell no!
Settle down, settle down. Yeah, which one? Which candidate? Which candidate?
Terry Burgess told me personally at Jeffco Patriots, that he would take money from Pfizer and Bayer.
No, that needs to go social media right away. I know you might be against social media, sorry, I'm a big advocate for social media, and that's how we get our words out, but yeah, that needs to be done right now.
It's live, what he's saying is live on TikTok, Twitch, and Facebook right now.
Wait, that's fine, but I'm gonna counter something I got from a absolute wonderful state rep. He said, if they're dumb enough to give me the money, I'll do it. Doesn't mean I'm gonna go vote for them. So I'm sorry, just because you take money, it's what you do with it. That's the point. Because, wait, I'm talking now.
Oh.
Here's why. Do you know how much money did you get from individuals? Not much.
$0.
$0. If you don't take money
Who donated
from them,
in here?
how much money
Nobody.
did you donate to candidates? It's that easy to say. It's really easy to say you shouldn't take money. Guess what? You gotta run the candidate. You gotta run your campaign. If you don't get the money, guess what? You don't get elected. That's it. So just because you take money doesn't mean you're gonna vote for it. That's bottom line. I've been doing this a lot longer than most people in this room. I know, I understand, I know where you're coming from. I used to think that, but I'm telling you right now, until the people get off their dead asses and start giving money to these candidates, nobody has a damn word to say. If you're not giving them money, you have no right to tell them what to take and not take. Sorry. That's just bottom line.
Terry
That's not the way Big Pharma works.
I don't care.
No, they own.
No, wait. We're not gonna go through this anymore. I'm telling you what it is. Until you, I don't care. I watch this every day. I see this. This is why I want to get out of this. I watch the regular people, Linda, my right, sit on their asses, like she said. How many people are helping Tony and everybody else work? None. How much money do they give to them? None. You got to get money from people. That's all there is. You got to run a campaign whether you like it or not.
And Terry has been helping other candidates.
Yes, Terry's been doing a lot.
He
And I'm not
has
doing this to
got the
defend
money
Terry.
spread.
I'm telling you, you've got to have money to run campaigns, and the people don't stand up. Shannon, how much money you get from regular individuals? Not a lot, right?
Well, I had a great event.
Yes, you gotta run events, but I understand where you come from. I've been doing this a long time. I'm telling you, I've been through this 1,000 times. It's easy to say don't take money, but until why do you think all these candidates have all these PACs? Because that's why they get taken in, because of the fact that the people don't give money and they have to do it.
I
They
don't know
have to
Terry
take.
very well, but I know Phil Amato, and he is a snake above all.
Yes. This is not to defend anybody. This is everybody.
Terry is not the only one that has taken money from these PACs and from unions.
It depends on how he votes.
Everyone
It's
has
about
to.
how they vote. My friend, I'm telling you, I'm not gonna, well, I'll tell you this. Paul Kirkman, I said, I asked him that question, he goes, Dave, they're gonna give me money, they can give me money all they want. But guess what? Doesn't mean I'm voting their way. If they'll give it to me once, if I don't vote their way, guess what? They don't get it again. Jim Neely, who I was campaign manager for, same thing. You don't get money from most individuals, and if these people want to give you money, you can't do it. You can't do it. So I'm not trying to be rude, I'm just saying, it's easy to say this,
No.
don't do this and don't do that.
But honestly, I will say this plainly, I know you're here. I didn't know you were here. And I'm not shy about saying it to your face. I mean, I got a father who earned 3 silver stars and 4 bronze stars doing OSS in World War II. I knew about this stuff. You don't play with Big Pharma.
Okay, we need to go on. We need to go forward.
Okay, you say go on. Big Pharma controls Mitch McConnell. Big Pharma controls Joe Manchin.
Wait.
Controls our governor.
Give me money, and I'll tell you what, as a representative, they give me all the money they want. Does it mean I'm voting their way? No.
But they do.
No, they don't. Not everybody does. Paul Kirkman is one of the most honorable people I've ever met. And if you actually think he'd vote that way because he give money, you don't know what you're talking about. Trust me. There are some honorable people. And guess what? If Terry Burgess started voting that way, I'd be the first one on his ass, and you know
So
it.
would I, in a minute.
We all would. You have to keep it responsible. It's not what you get money from, it's what you do with it.
Yeah.
That's bottom line. If you give them what they want, then you're wrong. I talk about lobbyists all the time. I'm really hot about this because of the fact people want to say, don't do this and don't do that. Get the money out of your pocket and hand it to them, and they don't have to do it. But until you do it, they have to take it.
Okay.
Do I get a little ad at myself? Anyway. All right, it's no offense, it's what we
No,
have to do.
I'm not offended, but I'm just saying, I know how Big Pharma plays. I worked for Big Pharma.
Well, good, you work
The
for
worst, the worst 3 months of my life, I worked for Big Pharma.
Terry? your
Renee,
turn.
tell us
Wait.
how much, one mailing.
Wait, let's stop for a minute, let him finish, let Terry get up here and he can defend himself when he wants to.
Does anybody else have any
Yes.
questions?
After that, you better get down here. Yeah, he's got questions. We gotta make quick, because we gotta get out of here a little bit.
If I gave you a magic pen and you could write any piece of legislation and it was guaranteed passed, what would it be? It's a tough one. but it's true.
Honestly, I would like to take away every single law they've passed since the Constitution was written. Go back.
Any more questions? We gotta go forward.
I didn't hear the answer. I would like to, if I had a magic pen to write a piece of legislation, I would like to amend everything that was done since the Constitution to go back to. Start over.
You're saying not laws, but every infringement on our Constitution, you would
Yes.
erase it all.
Erase it
all.
all.
Federal Reserve,
Except for
income
Bill
tax,
Rights.
personal property
Every
tax.
infringement, yes.
Every amendment.
Every amendment, especially.
Everything since our original Constitution, anything that's been changed and infringed upon, take it away.
If recreational marijuana was to pass here in the Missouri state, would you be willing to remove the sales tax and property tax? And push the tax on the employer of the marijuana farms and the shops that sell the marijuana and take the burden off the taxpayers?
I would have to look at other states that have done that before and see if
For instance, Oregon, Colorado, and Illinois have all doubled their GDP by recreational legalization of marijuana.
If it's feasible, then absolutely.
Okay, let's go forward. Oh, wait.
Let me just have a statement. The original Constitution was passed without the Bill of Rights, was passed without the right to vote for women, was passed without African American rights to vote, and so.
Them are infringements of our rights, though. I would like to keep all of our rights and take anything that infringes upon our rights away.
Okay, thank you. I just wanted to.
Like senator election, like senators being elected instead of appointed by legislature, things like that.
Okay, I just want to clarify.
No, I-
'cause,
yeah, I
I like to vote.
Like our taxes, like the taxes now that we're paying,
The
earnings
extras.
tax and all that crap
The
that
extra
we pay
taxes.
now.
Yeah.
Earnings tax, personal property tax.
Yeah.
the
Our
Federal
gas
Reserve.
tax, our country and our state, our area has grown tremendously over the years. We have the money, it's just not being used correctly. Okay, any other questions?
All right, Terry, get up here. You're. I bet you can't wait to get up there.
I will address those concerns, obviously. My name's Terry Burgess, I'm running for state representative. You guys are actually in District 113 that encompasses Arnold, Imperial, and Barnard. I've lived in the district for over 35 years. My grandparents raised me since I was a baby. I was raised as an old school conservative back in those days. The county used to be widely Democrat, because you had Democrats that were pro-life, pro-Second Amendment, pro-union, pro-worker. And then the Democrats just kept going further and further and further left, and they left union guys like me to the wayside. So why I chose to run for office and what got me involved in politics, about 2016, the state legislature passed a bill called Right to Work. And that was going to basically end all unions and drop my pay from what I make now, $38 an hour, down to about 14 or 15 bucks an hour. It would have also brought more illegal immigrants into the state, where fly-by-the-night contractors could have bid jobs really cheap. So we as union members, we hold a standard. We set the bar on what other contractors and companies can charge with prevailing wage, so on and so forth. So when they passed that bill, we took to the streets and we gathered signatures and petitioned it. I personally gathered 3,000 signatures on my own, a little bit over 3,000. And there was 300,000 signatures turned in, which means I turned in 1% of the signatures collected in the entire state. So we turned those petitions in to J. Oscroft's building. They then had to put it on the ballot for a vote, and the thing lost like 68% to 30-something%. It lost horribly, meaning Missouri does not want right to work, and they want unions. They like their unions. So I got involved even further, and I was like, why would politicians vote against working people? Why do they have it out for me? Why do they want me to make 15, 16 bucks an hour? Well, a guy by the name of David Humphreys was cutting big money. I'll give you 80,000. I'll give you 70,000. I'll give you 50,000. All to buy their votes. We had a lot of politicians promise us that they would never vote for right to work. But as soon as that big money started coming in, they changed their vote. So I thought, man, that's a bunch of BS, so we can't have that. So I got even more involved. I considered running. I ran in 2020 just to kind of get my feet wet, get a little bit of experience. And then I was thinking about running this year, not thinking about running. I looked at the opponents. I knew we didn't have any better alternatives, and I knew I had to run. So I chose to run. Covering some of the issues, as it was stated about Big Pharma and all that, I actually have a lot of experience with Big Pharma. I've worked at Mallinckrodt Pharmaceuticals that they make fentanyl. I've been inside the room where they make the fentanyl. I built the room where they dry the dope when it comes out of the machines. So I have a lot of experience with Big Pharma. My father also was a Vietnam veteran that was hooked on opioids. They drugged those guys up in that war bad. And when he got out of the war, he couldn't get off the opioids. And the VA hospital hands those things out like Skittles. It probably killed him in 2020. That's probably one of the reasons why he died. He also had several lawsuits filed against the VA hospital for those problems, because he knew it was a problem, but they just kept on giving it. It was feeding his addiction, and like I said, it's probably one of the things that killed him. So with my statement on taking lobbyist money, if somebody's going to give me money, should I turn it down and say no? Or do I take their money and say, this isn't buying my vote? I'm going to vote off of what my constituents want, the people here in 113, what they elected me for. I've watched Charles Grodigan, my councilman, for years, and that man votes for what his constituents want. Not what lobbyists want, not what builders want, not what unions want, what his constituents want. That is what a representative is supposed to do. So I will vote for what my constituents want. December 5th of 2006, I also received Jesus Christ as my Lord and Savior. I'm not shy to tell people that. I think that's the #1 thing everybody should talk about. How many politicians do you hear stand up and say that? I know I'm going to heaven when I die because I received Jesus Christ as my Lord and Savior, and He's forgiven me for all my sins, no matter what they were. That's important. That's the #1 important thing. That should be #1 in everybody's life. I will also vote if it's morally correct with Him, because every vote I take in that state house, I'm going to have to answer for when I die. And I'm not going to make any bad votes with Him, because I know I'm going to have to answer for that one day. Super important to me. Political campaigns are very expensive. To do one mailer, you're looking at anywhere from $2,000 to $10,000. I've had a couple of friends donate $50, $100 here and there, not much. Nothing over $600 total. The unions, if they didn't back me and support me, I wouldn't be able to run a campaign, because people just don't give money. And I kind of understand with gas prices and inflation the way it is. Everybody's tight on money right now. I get it. So if a lobbyist comes into my office and they send me a check, I'll make it very clear to them, hey, look, this doesn't buy my vote. It's what my constituents want, and if it's morally correct. And if they still want to give me money, knowing that that's not going to buy my vote, then so be it. Who am I to turn it down? Mailers are another thing that are expensive that I mentioned. The leader ads, everybody in my district sees the leader ads right now. Those are $1,200 to $2,000 a piece. To run a successful campaign, you've got to raise about $50,000 to $80,000. And that's just for a state rep. Brandon Wilkinson knows. You go look in his race and some of the U.S. Senate races, they're raising millions of dollars. Look into what their campaigns are taking in. The game has been switched and rigged against us. And it's big profit. It's big business. Print companies, social media, mailers, all these different things, it's all a big business for them. And they use us as politicians to get that. And they line their pockets heavily every election year to do it. So, I hope that we could maybe pass some legislation that puts even stricter limits on contributions. I know other countries say, hey, look, you got $8,000. That's all you're getting, that's all you get to spend. Have fun, go run at it. It makes candidates work. It makes you go out and knock doors. It forces you to do something. Would I take money from somebody? Maybe, yeah, possibly. I mean, this stuff's expensive. Is it gonna buy my vote? Not necessarily. My door is always going to be open to constituents. People are going to be able to come to my office, and that's another thing that we get wrong. I'm running as a Republican because I have conservative Christian values that the Democrats do not support at all. But just because I'm a Republican, I can't tell an independent or a Democrat to not come in my office and talk to me because that's what they identify as. I have to listen to their concerns as well. If I'm being a true representative, every taxpayer, whether they vote or not, has the right to come talk to me anytime they want. District 113's office is always going to be open to all of my constituents at any time. I'm 40 years old. I'm able to work very hard. I've personally helped out numerous candidates. There's a lot of candidates in this room. I've spent over $5,000 of my own personal money helping out other candidates in the county. I don't know of anybody else in the county that's done that that's running for office. I've got the statements to prove it. I'm a team player. I like to get along with everybody. I like to work together. I know it got a little hot in here earlier, but cooler heads prevail.
I mean, I have relationships with doctors, other scientists, and my genuine concern is that I know the pressure.
Right.
I know the pressure that are between hospital corporation systems inside of Missouri and mainly Pfizer. That's why Parson and our state house didn't really stand up and say a clear no to so-called, I'm going to call it what it really is, molecular gene modification substances,
okay,
injectable. They are not vaccines. They defy the historical definition of vaccines that has been in use since cowpox vaccines were used.
So, and I know where you're going, so let me give you an example of this.
Yeah, I don't mind, but it's really, where Big Pharma is concerned, thousands of people in Missouri alone died needlessly because Pfizer controlled our governor and controlled our state house and controlled basically all the county boards of health.
Right. So let me give you an example of this. So this year, I'm probably one of the top state reps that raises the most amount of money through the unions. They're my biggest.
I didn't really flinch when you mentioned unions.
Well, I'm getting to a point here. So my local, Labor's Local 110, they've gone 15,000 in the PAC, 2,000 in my campaign. The Labor's in general have gone around 24,000 into me. They also supported Prop P. And I was out with Dave Day putting up no on Prop P signs, telling people to vote no on Prop P, when my organization was endorsing it and funding it.
But they didn't back off from supporting you, even though they knew you were a no guy.
I stand with what my constituents want, and I knew my constituents did not want Prop P. So I stood with my constituents. Now, if my constituents wanted Prop P, different story. I got to go with what my constituents want. There's roughly 38,000 people in this district. There's so many that want this, and there's so many that want that. The larger majority that wants this wins. I've got a pretty good handle on how this district votes because I've been here most of my life and I've watched these votes. And I've watched a lot of the elected officials. So even though somebody's giving me money, doesn't necessarily mean I'm always going to side with what they want. I went to them and I said, look, Prop P is gonna fail miserably. We gotta stop funding this. Nobody's gonna want this thing. And they wanted me to support it, and I said, I'm not supporting it. I will publicly not support Prop P. What ended up happening, it failed miserably, it fell on its face, just like that. A lot of people give me trouble because I support Paul Whelan. Unions are back in Dennis Gannon. Unions are financially supporting Dennis Gannon.
Because he's a Democrat.
I'm supporting Paul Whelan, and Paul Whelan endorsed my campaign. I'm the only candidate that was endorsed by Right to Life, Paul Whelan, Ron Counts. I probably have some of the most endorsements out of the entire state. So a lot of people, you know, took a lot of trust into me.
So I think that you have to look at the candidate all around. You cannot take one subject. And look, how many people have I stood up to and got in their face because of the way that they are doing what they're not supposed to be doing? Multiple. I've done Facebook Lives. I'm not afraid to stand up to anybody. If he goes wrong, if she goes wrong, I'll be in their face in a minute. He knows it already. I've already told him that.
And some of the first people I got a hold of was him and her.
And I've vetted this man for
Because I knew they were
months.
the toughest people. The rest of the people are pushover. That's easy. I had to go to the most hardcore people and say, look, hold me accountable. You know, test me. I need to be held accountable. People need to be held accountable. Go ahead.
So, I know there's two sides to every story, and if you did it, tell me you did it. If you didn't, tell me your story, why you didn't do it. But I recently, in the last 3 hours, have seen a post on Facebook claiming that you've done some beating on a girl and that kind of stuff. And you have some jail time and convictions or whatever else it says here.
Yeah, I'm open and honest about my past. I'm an open book. I don't have a problem explaining anything to anybody. As a Christian, you're supposed to be open and honest. So 2011, I married a girl. Well, it was actually 2009 after we got married. 2011, we got divorced. She had our son. Right after she had our son, not even a couple months, probably 3 months afterwards, I caught her cheating on me with a guy that we were going to church with up at First Baptist Church of Arnold. And I filed for divorce. When I filed for divorce, she turned up pregnant. To try to make me out to look like a bad guy, she filed a false restraining order. Now, when you file a false restraining order, you're familiar with these.
Oh, I'll talk about what he's done.
They give you 30 days. Oh, yep, here's your restraining order, you gotta stay away for 30 days until
You're
the court date.
homeless.
Pretty much. I got kicked out of my townhome, she stole all my stuff, took everything from me, all my money, emptied the bank account, took everything from me. I had to move back in with my grandparents.
Question, were you ever convicted of anything?
I'll get to that. Give me a second, I'll get to that.
I mean, people asking me that, so.
Right, so I'll get to that. So, we went through the divorce process, obviously with her being pregnant. They had to do DNA testing, all that, to make sure the baby's not mine. It turned out it was his. We got the divorce, whatever. During the divorce, she tried claiming I was abusive, I was crazy, I was stalking her, all these false accusations to try to make me look like a bad person, because in turn, she was really the one that cheated and caused the divorce, and they didn't want to make her look like the bad person. So none of that stuff stuck. The judge asked, hey, you got a police report if he hit you? Is there any sort of documentation or pictures of bruises? They couldn't prove anything because it was all a lie. So time went on. I went through my divorce. It drained my bank account. It drained everything. I lost my son over it because I didn't have money to fight for my son anymore. So the judge ruled that she got to control custody, and I didn't have to pay child support and cover the child on insurance, just as long as she controlled custody. I didn't have any more money to fight, and that's the way those games work, is the people that have the most money. She was actually getting a free attorney for women, some kind of women group or something gave her a free attorney. So I didn't have any more money to fight. Fast forward a couple years go by, I got with another girlfriend of mine, and I rented a TV at Rent-A-Center, and she lived right up here up the street, and me and her broke up. She failed to return the TV. I guess she gave it to a guy that she had started seeing or something. She couldn't give it back to me. I stopped paying the bill, period. I figured, well, they're just gonna take it to collections, no big deal. I didn't have the money to pay for it. I didn't have the TV to turn back. I just figured they would take it to collections, until I got a warrant for my arrest in the mail for stealing rented or leased property. In the state of Missouri, if you rent a TV, if you rent a table light or anything at Rent-A-Center or any of these rental places, and you don't pay the bill and you don't turn the product back in, you will get charged with some misdemeanor for stealing rented or leased property. Now, with my court date, I paid the restitution for the TV. It was like $1,300 I paid for the TV. So Rent-A-Center got their money for the TV. I still got charged with a misdemeanor. That's a state law. How many people has gone through that process and it affected them where they couldn't get a good paying job because they had a misdemeanor for stealing rented or leased property when they didn't pay a bill? And they couldn't turn the product back in for whatever reason. So yeah, I got that charge. That's a small misdemeanor for not paying a Rent-A-Center bill. And then the girl that didn't give me the TV back, me and the guy that she was seeing, we got into a phone argument. He pressed charges on me for the phone argument. And that was a misdemeanor charge for verbal communications harassment. For pretty much telling him I was going to beat him up on the phone, because me and him were having an argument on the phone. So those are the two charges I have.
No felonies.
No felonies. Nothing I've ever done in my life has disqualified me from running for state representative or serving as a representative. People like to exaggerate stories. 2016 comes by. My ex-wife, who I was so abusive against and had to have so many restraining orders against me, begged to come back to me. She wanted to move back into my house. No, I'm going to explain the whole thing. It's necessary. She asked, so she wanted to know.
I'd rather hear from him than a year from now.
So she asked, and she asked me to come back. She used my son as a pawn against me. I hadn't seen my son in 6 years, since he was about 6, 7 months old. I was really excited to see my son. I got to go see him. He started calling me Dad, you know, I want to come over and spend the night. She gave me the idea, hey, maybe if we move in with you, because I had a house down in Cedar Hill Lakes. I was living by myself. Maybe, you know, you could see your son every day and it'd be a great thing. And I thought, you know what, maybe I'll try it. 6 years have gone by, people change, you know, why not? So I took her back in, along with my son and 3 kids that she had by 3 other men. And I supported all of them. My ex-wife has never had a job, ever. Supported all of them, I worked 2 jobs. I come home in April of 2017. I find her so high on meth, she's almost overdosed. I go to call her, get her out of the house, kick her out, I want her out. I don't allow that stuff around me at all. She wouldn't leave. I called Jefferson County Police Department, they arrested her and put her on a 12-hour hold. That's also public information. She left. About 3 weeks later, I met my current wife. My current wife helped me move all of her stuff out of the house. And that's the end of the story. She currently has 5 kids by 5 different men. She's been married and divorced 3 times, all by the age of 30. Everything's always the man's fault, not her fault. I think she needs to start worrying about her own life.
You get to see your son now?
Nope, she holds my son against me.
I'm going to add a story here real quick. Wait, hold on a second. Everybody
She
knows.
uses my kid against me as a weapon.
Right. I want to add a
And I
story
pay
here
for
to
it,
help.
he pays
I want to add a story to help you with what you said. Everybody knows. No, most people know what happened to me recently. Okay, you can file a restraining order, and it could be a complete lie.
I get that.
I went through it. No, I'm just saying, I went through it. I was homeless for a little bit. It was ridiculous, it was pathetic. I didn't do anything wrong. And as a friend of mine, a lot of judges will tell you, and attorneys will say it's the most abused law out there. So when you hear a restraining order, don't necessarily believe it. It's a pissed off person or whatever, that's usually what it is.
I just want to know.
No, I
what
just
that
want to say,
story was.
because people are so apt, they look on it, and that doesn't go on my record or anything like that. But all they have to do is say it and sign it and lie it, and that's what they do. I want to put that out there because I'm not afraid to admit it. It was embarrassing for me, but I didn't do anything wrong. And if I did, I should be where you go if you hit somebody. Never ever happened. So, anybody can lie on document incident.
So,
That's all.
let me add this. So yesterday I knew that this was posted. My wife, she's crying, she's upset, because they're calling her a lot of mean names too. I get home from door knocking, campaigning, she's upset, and she says, what are we gonna do? Are you gonna get on there and defend yourself? I said, no. I said, we're gonna go to bed and I'm gonna pray for them. Remember, I told you Jesus Christ is the most important thing in my life. So I laid in bed and we prayed for them. That's all I can do. That's all you can. People like that want to come out of the woodwork and say all these extravagant lies and all these things to try to make looks, you got to pray for those people. As a Christian, I have to pray for them. God tells you if somebody slaps you in the face, turn the cheek and offer the other cheek.
Now, I just have one more question for
Go
you.
ahead.
As a union member myself,
Okay.
who's speaks open about my beliefs in politics, do you speak open at your union meetings about how Democrats are running our unions into the ground?
Yep.
Okay.
So I switched parties, and I'm a Republican. I ran on conservative values. I still have the same values I had in 2020 that I have now. Still the same Terry. The party left me. And I think we endorsed 19 or 20 Republicans in the county at the Jefferson County Labor Club this year. That's never happened in the history of the Labor Club.
My union does not.
If I'm elected as a Republican, I'll be the first ever tradesman in a trade union elected to the Republican Party at the State House. That's never happened in the state of Missouri history. That's never happened in the United States.
So if I talk to your union brothers, you don't tell them I'm really a Democrat running as a Republican?
My son works for big machine operators.
He's in 513.
And I asked him about Terry one day. He didn't know Terry from Adam. He lives in Franklin County. He said, oh yeah, I've been hearing he's a great guy all over the union. And he said, I like the guy already. He said, I don't even have to meet him.
So most of our trade guys, and I'm down in the city right now where construction's just going crazy. Most of our guys are hardcore hunters, gun owners. We support life, pro-life. We all have Republican values. And we kept going to the unions and saying, hey, look, we got to change this. This isn't working. The Democrats don't support us anymore. They have the super minority. They can't get anything done for us. We got to start shifting this. So I would say within the next probably 2 to 5 years, you're going to see unions really starting to shift on who they support.
That's better than the established Republicans we have in our party right now, that's for sure. We need more blue-collar people like that, we really do.
I'll make a quick comment. As an elected official or somebody running for office, you have a certain set of values. Okay, that's why I put out, long before people are gonna vote, where I stand on the issues. I appeared before the Jefferson County Labor Club, and they asked me all kinds of questions. And I gave them my honest, true answer. One of them that I got upset was the lady with the school. She asked me how I felt about the critical race theory stuff. I told her, I gave her my opinion. She was appalled at it. Tough. You guys have to come in and ask me what my opinion is about this, and this is what I'm
But
talking
that's
about.
become a lesser part of that union, because those people are really looked down on now. They're not as big as they used to be. It's the leftists are. I mean, he doesn't believe that. There's more people like him than them.
Yeah. Until they endorse
I've
non-union
experienced-
people.
I've experienced unions firsthand myself. I used to be a member of the UAW 325, and I've got family members at UAW. There is a benefit to having a union presence in our county, because here's what happens. If you're talking about developers, I was challenged earlier about am I supporting developers? Absolutely not. Here's the problem: if you don't have union people at these developments, they'll come in there and they'll put anybody on the job that don't care about what kind of standards they have to do. If you are with a union shop like 513 or any of these other ones, they have standards, they have contracts, and you can't go in there and tell them that they have to do this because they're going to say, no, it's not against the contract. It violates something, and they've got protection there. So you're getting the benefit. The county would be, in some instances, getting the benefit of something that's built right to a certain extent. I experienced the same thing with UAW. There are a bunch of car companies out there, like in Mexico, they have to do whatever they're told to do. Me on the line, where I was working on the line, I knew what my limits were, I did my job. If they come in and they want to screw something up, I had a right to shut the line down until it was done right. Had I been able to do that, had I not been part of the media? No.
Yeah, and see, that's the, so I try to be as open and honest and transparent as I can. I think you were at the meeting in May when I was down there,
Yeah.
Phil was down there. That was the other reason that I chose to run. You know, we go into the Labor Club meeting and one of my opponents, he's the only one left in the race, the other one lied about his status of being a veteran. The other one's walking into the Labor Club as a Republican with a gigantic face mask on. 2 years later, after the pandemic's already been come and gone, he's got a gigantic, there are Democrats in the room that are not wearing face masks. He's the only one in the room with a face mask on. The next meeting, got a face mask on. Both weeks after the Labor Club, he's at the Republican Club meeting with no face mask on. Apparently, you can only get COVID at the Jefferson County Labor Club.
Playing the part.
He's playing the part, and I don't tolerate that. I tell you up front and honest what it is, how it is, why it is. Take it or leave it.
All right, it's getting late, guys.
Yep.
One more
Thanks,
question.
sir.
Great, let's do it.
All right, so I understand your position completely with PAC, as long as you stay true to your word. And I get it. It's a lot easier for federal candidates to raise money because we have a much larger pool of donors than you guys. So
Right.
I totally get that. You know, so, but we have the higher opportunity because we have 20 times the population. So I get it. I don't blame you one bit on it as long as, you know, you're not for sale. And I will say pharmaceutical is the one that they'll tell you if you take their money. They'll come in and tell you if you don't vote for us, we will fund the guy that's going to replace you. Now, if they tell you that, and I have a different question, that's probably something. If they tell you that, you're going to tell them to screw off? That you don't care?
Yeah, pretty
Because
much,
you're
because
constituents?
once you're elected, you know, then you have the Republican Party, the HRCC, will get behind any incumbent.
But pharmaceutical
So if
specifically
somebody,
is known to do that.
yeah, so if they tell me, you know, hey, look, you know, and they threaten me with that, I'm gonna say, okay, well, good luck. I mean, go ahead and try. And it's also extremely hard to beat an incumbent. I know I tried beating a 6-year incumbent. It don't work. So, yeah, those threats don't bother me.
The way I see it is if you're representing your people, it doesn't matter how much money you throw in your race to defeat you, your people are going to vote you back in. So that's kind of what I want.
Money
But
is
one-
hard to get in politics. It just is.
So the question I had in regards to what you said about you're the voice of your constituents, I agree completely. You answered them, just like we answered our constituents. But you said if the majority of your constituents want X, and then that's what you're going to support. What if it violates rights?
If it violates rights, as in,
Constitutional rights. Let's say the majority,
Yeah, I'm not gonna go against the
let's say the majority of the
Constitution.
constituents supported red flag laws, which violated at least four
yeah, I wouldn't,
constitutional
yeah,
rights.
I would just have to tell my constituents, look, that's against the Constitution, I can't vote for that, and I would have to take the heat for it. Which, that would never happen because I know a majority of my constituents do not want red flag laws. So, I'm pretty confident in my district, you know, I know exactly where they stand on all the issues. So, you know, we had a politician down here that voted for right to work, and he got a lot of heat for it because his constituents kept telling him no, 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 and that money was more important. So, you know, that's one of the main reasons why I chose to get involved, was to give people clear, honest representation and show them what that looks like. Because I think people have lost touch with that and try to be an example, a good Christian example to other people. And maybe hopefully other people will start following. I don't know. It's got to start somewhere though.
Yeah, no, I get it.
You just gotta watch yourself with the big pharmaceutical company. My
Right.
opponent was an incumbent. She promised the same thing you're promising. Took $1.7 million from big pharmaceutical PACs and then voted for the national DNA data, or the database for COVID, voted for vaccination passports, and then voted and lobbied to mass.
But that means she was a phony to begin with.
Well, she's the worst representative.
That's what I'm
She's
saying,
ranked
you know,
434, let's
I
be
talk
honest.
about lobbyists, or that people don't like lobbyists. And the problem is, there's nothing wrong with lobbyists, but that doesn't, you know, it's up to the representative to
Yes.
vote for them. And these are the people responsible. If the lobbyist wants to give me money, give me as much as you want. Doesn't mean you have to vote for them.
And
If you
to
do,
me-
you're the political whore. That's
Can I
my
say
way.
one thing? I did reject a really fat check at a Candace Owens event, and it was very sad. I really could use that money now, so I wish I would have taken it back.
Yeah.
And to be clear,
So-
you already know I support you. I've told you I'll help you. But he also, with people offering help, he said, listen, my race, I got an opponent who's not doing anything, help other candidates. And that, I really respect that a lot. I don't know you very well, but I know enough people that know you, that I know are true conservatives, that vouched for you and said, this guy, I've looked at you. So my questions were not confrontational, but just to bring out things that I like to see answered by
All right, one more question, we gotta get going here. Yeah.
Oh, I want to make, it's really kind of a statement. I understand and I appreciate what you said, and I hope you appreciate. I wasn't going after you personally.
Oh, yeah, I know, yeah.
And because I was part of the St. Louis Teachers Union, and you want to talk about corrupt, and before CRT was named, they were doing it. But anyway, it's sad. I don't care about personal things.
Right.
I know if you look no, to an extent. Because accusations can be made, you can pull out old stuff. If somebody has an old picture of me as teenage lead guitar playing lead singer, God knows I've never worked for Washington University Neuromuscular Research Lab.
Well, nobody's a perfect person.
No,
There's
and that's what I'm
nobody
saying,
perfect.
nobody is. And so I don't care. I mean, it's false accusation, and even if it's old stuff that may have been true. If you kind of had an internal change, and faith made you, and guided it, I understand that. And so it's like, I am angry right now because a friend of mine over in Belleville actually won the US Senate race. She was talking to Mike Lindell last night live. So I know how dirty machine politics can get.
Yeah.
And speaking of Jeremy, you saw me talking to your opponent. She doesn't understand how remote hacking works. She doesn't understand that if I were dishonest, Big Pharma, when I worked for them, wanted me to falsify results that would have resulted in thousands of people dying, and ultimately I'd have probably wound up in prison because it's like they would have found out, he had two different lab manual books, hid the one that was true, here's the phony one, and then he hacked his own computer to get FDA approval for something that actually was going to result in false negatives.
We gotta stop. We're supposed to be out here by 8:30.
Yeah, but anyway, I'm just saying, I'm not against you, and
Oh, no.
I'm not